Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Grandfather's House. In this series, we talk about everything Nurgle, points drop, list ideas, which I haven't talked about yet. I think I'll do a couple of different list reviews on some of the lists that have been sent. And if you want to actually me to review your list, send it in. I'll take a look at it, give it critiques, give it ideas, tell you what I think it'll be good against, what I think it'll struggle against. I think that's a fun idea. Let's do that. But in this video, I've had a lot of people ask me about turn 1 tactics, deployments, how I set up versus different armies, and that is an extremely complicated question. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a general list building tips very shortly. It's literally just this on the screen. And then I'm going to go over general deployment strategies, what you do versus what type of archetype opponents, what you do for your type of list. And then in a separate video, I'm going to go over every battle plan. I might make it into one video. It might be 2, 4, 5, but it's going to be in a different video. I want that to be separate from this video because this video is just going to be a general idea, not battle plan specific. I know everybody doesn't want to sit through all of that, so I'll make that content available for you guys. But I don't want it to, be something that everybody has to sit through if they don't want to. And you can just look through certain battle plans if you want. Nice, easy, accessible. First thing, I'll put this back. I had him here. First thing first, you need to think about going first because we're Nurgle. All of our good lists are 3 drops or more, most likely. And that is solely because of this. These rules hurt us significantly more than they help us. We have nothing that cares about this because all of our fast units that will take advantage of it are a lot of companion attacks. It's not great. Kind of nice for Blight Kings sometimes. Not worth the risk. Not worth giving them +1 to hit and wound on your Blight Kings. And priority target's nice, but it's better for our opponent than it is for us. Bodyguard's our best one. Honestly, most of the time lately, my general has either been the Glocken with a group of Blight Kings standing next to him, completely glued to his butt, like a child looking for candy. And they just give him the bodyguard role. That, or I have some Nurglings following around Hordy, or something of the like. So, we're usually 3 or more drops, which means most of the time, we go first. So these are the tactics for when you have to go first. If you have to go second, you have so many choices. It's a normal game at that point. You don't need to worry about it. If you're going first, you need one of these packages. You need either 1 unit of drones, 1 unit of Pusco Blightlords, the Walmart version, which is a Beast of Nurgle, which is the worst one for this, and I'll explain why in a minute, or one of my personal favorites, but is expensive, and I can't fit it into a lot of the lists I like, unfortunately, is a Lord of Affliction and a single Puscoil. Because this is 350, and for 100 points less, you get this. For so many points less, this is only 180. This is the best one, I believe, for the points, especially if you're on a Guo, because these will revive a Guo. Oh no, all these Guos have 18 health. That's going to bother me, I'm sorry. That's going to bother me a lot. Sorry. 20. Okay, good. This is an old repertoire we made with just models on it, with auras on my models. But, yeah. So, the reason you need one of these is these are the only units that can semi-reliably do take the flanks. And take the flanks is one of our primary first turn tactics. We only have 2. It's take the flank and seize the center. And you always want to deploy to set up for one, if not both, depending on your opponent's army. And I'll get into a moment for why. First off, the reason you want these is the point for take the flanks is 10 inches away. That means all of our fastest units have to run a 2. So you put drones over here, they need a 2. A Puscoil, they need a 2. Unless you're running the Affliction Cyst. If you're running the Affliction Cyst and you can teleport 2 groups of flies somewhere, you have tactics for days. You can do Not Waver, you can do Take the Flanks, you can do anything because the teleport is in the deployment phase. So it's done before your first turn. It's really good. But it's your starting turn. It's not my favorite sub-faction, but it is our second best sub-faction. Taliban's the first, for those wondering. So I usually set up one of the faster units over here, do take the flanks. Hope I don't roll a 1. I might have a unit of, say, Plague Bears over here who could roll a 5 somewhere to be able to respond and take that. Or I'll have something over here ready for a nice seize the center. Depends on my opponent's list. And I'll go into that in a second. Also, one thing I see a lot of people do, I wanted to touch on, is they will have their unit for take the flanks, and they'll have them all the way over here in the corner. You don't need to do that. You need to be 6 inches out. You can have them over here and pre-measure it. So, say I needed a 1 to run. Okay, he's 9 inches away. He can go... Oh, this is a bad example because the train piece is here. But you could just do something like this. Or these Plague Bears here, they'd probably be back here, able to go onto this point, able to go to here. And you don't need to be wholly within 6. You need one person tagged on the edge out. Notice I'll have these as 2 different groups to just show 2 different examples of this. Kind of making a wall, a screen, depending on where your opponent's army is and what type of army they have. So, that's for take the flanks. My usual go-to first turn tactic, although it fails on a 1, you just take it on the chin. We're a slow faction. Seize the center is nice. Only problem with it is, chances are you don't have that many units of Plague Bears. Unless you're running a Plague Bear list. If you're running 40 Plague Bears, put them both in the center. You're going to be fine. Even if they tie up both of them, you're probably still fine. Because if they tie it up with just one unit, even these just 1 Chaos Warriors, they're going to die fairly quickly. You don't honestly care that much about retreating these guys. D3 damage to 40 wounds on a 5-up save, or 5-up ward, we don't care. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. But those are pretty much the first turn tactics. The only problem with doing this with Plague Bears, they have to roll a 2 on the run to get within 3. So you're going to have to auto-run a Plague Bear. You're going to have to use something like a Beast or a Fly, something a little bit quicker. I don't recommend using a Magath Lord. You don't want them exposed. But again, that depends on your opponent's type of list. If you're against a shooting army, unless you can stay completely out of their range, you're going to want them up there anyway, because they need to go do work. If your opponent has Vanguard right here front and center, if you put a Magath Lord up there, I don't care which one it is, it's going to die. Even if you have Orgots up here with the -1 to wound, if he's right here, these Vanguard are going to come in, and they're going to knock his pants off, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. Also, that's pretty much it for the turn 1 tactics. Those are the only 2 we have if we go first. I always recommend the flanks, because even though it's a 1 in 6 to fail it, you can set another unit up here for a backup. You can have a Plague Bear up here that can maybe roll a 5 and get there if you're lucky. Would it be a 6? It'd be a 6. But you can have backups. And for Seize the Center, you can have multiple backups. Like, in a lot of matches, it's not worth sending the Guo up. It's not worth sending the Orgots up, because if they die, you've lost one of your key pieces. And that's it for the first 1 tactics now. I'll go on to my next point, which is what kind of army you're facing and where you should deploy. If you're against something like Vanguard, you don't want to go into their threat range turn 1. You want to do cheeky stuff to hurt them later. You want to disease them, chip them down if you can. Maybe send that unit of drones in, tag something, disease them, give them bad attacks. Like, if you have this unit of drones, get in there. You charge in to, say, these warriors aren't going to kill the drones. But you can pile over, get to barely within 3. I mean, barely. I want them just to barely smell you. You can give them disease. And these guys would sit back here, not giving them more attacks over the front after the warriors go in. It's going to make it a little bit harder for them to get in. Could they still kill your drones? Very possibly. If they kill them, it's not the end of the world. If they live, which they have a decent chance to, you give them disease. And that's the best unit to get disease on in their army if they're playing Vanguard. Oh, another thing real quick. If you're doing Seize the Center, don't drop a tree in the middle. You're giving them something to countercharge to potentially negate your tactic completely. Which I've had happen a few times, and it's brutal. And then, alright, that's that. Other thing I want to do. Okay, enemy army type versus your army type. If you're playing a bunch of Plague Bear spam, That's the one Nurgle army that kind of doesn't care what your opponent does. We have a plan, we're going to do it, we're going to walk forward, we're going to make you get stuck in the pit. If you're playing a monster type list, if you're playing a human list, a king list, you don't want to just walk up and fight as much. You want to control the battlefield more. You'll notice the Glocken is in the trees. Overgrown is the Glocken's best friend if your opponent has a shooting list, because he can't get shot right now. The only way they can get shot right now is if your opponent has something that can see on this line. And if they're up that far, chances are they're fighting you. They're right next to you. If they want to get that close, go for it. One quick note though, if you're against Lumineth, well, good luck. We're going to get filled with arrows and hope we win. It's really rough. That's a really bad matchup for us, especially if they have foxes. But use Overgrown to your advantage. If you are wholly on Overgrown and they charge you, you still get -1 to hit. The Glocken, the Ghoul, Orgots, they all benefit from Guarded Hero. We can still be shot within 12. I mean, outside of 12. But we do still get the -1 to hit, which is huge. And something that I didn't realize until just the other day when somebody told it to me. So it's definitely something we should take advantage of. And it's very good. Another thing I'll do, for deployment-wise anyway, I just want to touch on this because my brain is, well, a little bit like a squirrel today. New medication, everybody. Horticulus should be somewhere where he can run, say he runs a 2, and then he can drop a tree within 12. You want that to be within 6 of 2 different units. This is obviously a bad example because you probably wouldn't want to, well, 6 within 6, the Shadow Queen's fine. But you don't want to put it within something that's going to charge it. Like if they want to countercharge these Chaos Warriors, you don't care. There's even a chance they don't kill the tree. If you put this with the Shadow Queen, she's 100% going to charge it because the Shadow Queen wants to get up in your face and block you up. So depending on the target, I like to put within 6 of 2 units because that way if they redeploy 1, you still get the chance on the other one. It's really good for early disease. Like on this one, if I get the 4 up here, Chaos Warriors have disease, I spread to the Vanguard. They're already diseased for free. They have to spend a point to rally, get it, remove it. They might not want to. And it's a great time. But yeah, as I was saying before I got distracted, use Overgrown. Use Obscuring. It is your best friend. The Glocken loves it. The Guos love it. They like to hide behind the trees. And the last thing I want to touch on this one is it depends on what your opponent's army type is for how you want to deploy. There's one trick that I found out recently at a GT. Well, not recently, it was a while ago. There are 2 different ways to deploy your units. There's a regimental drop where, say, let's just say this is one of your regiments. You drop them all at the same time. You can choose to do these as 3 individual drops to get more information out of your opponent. And that can do 2 things for you. 1, you give your opponent less information. They're going to know where your stuff is less. You can react to their deployment more. And 2, if your opponent tries to copy that and say they're a 2-drop Night Haunt list with a ton of units, if they mess that up, you can actually steal priority from them. Say they make you drop first. You have a unit of, you're a 3-drop. You have 1 unit with 2 or 3 units in it. Drop 1. They decide to copy you and drop 1. Chances are that thing had a full 4 in it. So you can get priority back from them. It's not going to happen often. A smart opponent won't do it. But people make mistakes. I don't recommend doing it at your locals because if you're at a locals, you're just there for a fun game. You're not there to go hard in the paint, you know? Have a good time. Relax with your friends. Play a game of Warhammer. Don't try and use the sneaky stuff. It's not good sportsmanship at a local. At a GT or something like that, I'd say it's 100% fair game. But, you know, be nice with your opponent. Intent matters. You always want to... You never want to be that guy. Yeah, nobody wants to be that guy. Alright. Do that. Okay. Opponent style of list. There's a lot of different styles of opponent's lists. Each one is different. If you guys are interested, I'll go through a deployment list for basically enemy types of this as well. That's going to be a different day and a different video, though. This video is getting about as long as I want it to be, so we're going to wrap this up. If your opponent has a large brick of shooting, sometimes you can tell where it's going to go by how they put the other things, because they're going to put that last. 100% they're going to put that last. So you want to save your big stuff for last, or if you have a big piece of obscuring, just dunk them in the obscuring. Your opponent's going to want to put these where they can shoot it. If you can put them on the obscuring, you're fine, or far enough away that they're not going to get hit. Just make sure they're not going to be irrelevant. It is not worth keeping the Glocken safe if he doesn't do anything the whole game, because he's 550 points. He needs to get in, he needs to do something. Now I'm not saying put him here where he can just get shot for free and then shot again. No, put him behind obscuring. Actually, there's a better obscuring right here, right there. That would be perfect. Then you just walk up, you stand there, and it's wonderful. The trees are our friends. Palisade is also our friend, and why I run in a lot of different lists. I see some people trying to run Morbid Conjuration in Nurgle. I don't like it. We don't have strong enough casting. We're not going to cast on our opponent's turn unless we're really lucky. And we're not really going to be able to vomit them all out. We want to do the -1 to wound spell. There's a lot of times we want to slow our opponent's movement. We're not casting all of them. Sun is great. Sun's nice. I'd rather have Geminids most of the time. Geminids does about the same thing as Sun does. It stops them from all-out defensing or gives them the -1 save. And Geminids does more damage. Yeah, you can dispel Geminids. Sun, you have to hurt and then dispel, or dispel it twice, which is better. It's great. But you get the Palisade, which I think is great. The Spell Portal, which is extremely situational, and honestly, you're probably not going to use it very much. But this thing has won me a lot of games. Either by just blocking movement, wedging between pieces of terrain, blocking shooting. Like, for instance, for this setup here, Glocken's in the trees. These Sentinels won't be able to shoot them if they're farther up. I've dropped this Palisade right here. That means that these Sentinels have to go over here to draw a line, which they can, but you're controlling where they go. That means they have to go this way. Or they have to draw a line over here. So, let's just move the Palisade over. That would make this a bit better of an example. Now they have to go all the way back here, which they can't on a normal move. Or they have to go up here, which there's a terrain piece blocking. Is this going to happen every game? No. Will it muck your opponent's turn when it does happen? Yes. It's wonderful. It's honestly the best against Stormcast. They have to sit there with their Raptors and it's like, okay, well, there's a Palisade in front of me. You either have to move to the side to shoot me and let me get a better chance of engaging on you, or you shoot something that I don't care about, like some Plague Bears, which is wonderful. But, yeah. Deploy away from your opponent's shooting. Use the terrain to your benefit. If you have Palisade, keep it in mind. A funny trick I did actually to somebody the other day. So I put my goo up to the side, holding it with 18 here, and then he went for take the flanks. After I had my drones here, I put the Palisade right here. So he had to charge over the Palisade, and I got in combat for free with the drones. And it was wonderful. He was sad. I didn't deny the tactic, but I basically got free damage on a unit that I wouldn't have before. Oh, and if your opponent has like any key spells that really hurt you, like Siege has some, Seraphon are always, well, they're not as bad as last edition. They're still very strong. But, you're not taking 40-minute hero turns anymore, which is wonderful. But you want to ask your opponent what their spells are, what their important ranges are, and keep yourself out of those ranges, at least for the first turn. When you're moving, if you know your opponent has like an anti-ward spell that's, say, 18 inches, you'd be like, okay, well, the Ghoul probably doesn't want to get within 18 inches of the Star Master. Or I think it's the Priest. Skink Priest or Starseer. One of those two has the anti-ward spell. He's an annoying little bastard, whichever he is. Yep, sorry, didn't mean to curse. And if your opponent has any like dedicated hammer unit, Vanguard, Shadow Queen that wants to go in and tie everything up, or Executioners, you just try and keep your important pieces a little bit away, keep something in between. Like, if I knew my opponent had a big brick of Executioners I know is their main kill unit, these Plague Bears are going to go here, and the Glocken's going to be right here. They're going to charge in, they'll kill the Executioners. On my turn, the Glocken will go up, and will completely decimate this unit. And it's great fun. And I'm going to just keep rambling, so I think I'm going to end the video here. Let me know if there's any other tips. I'm going to go through the different battle plans and go through some deployment stuff. I probably won't do all of them, actually. Will I do all of them? Some of them might just be a footnote, because honestly, a lot of them are the same. They have the same style of deployment. They have the same style of objectives, and we'll go from there. But thank you everybody for watching. I hope you have a good time. I hope you excuse my rambling. It's a little bit of, oh, there's one other thing. And I apologize for everybody who probably clicked off by now. If your opponent has a deep strike, learn how to zone out the deep strike. At the last GT I went to, I played against a Stormcast player that had a whole deep strike package. They had Grand Hammers. They had, what's the 5-up ward hero? They had a large deep strike package. He didn't deep strike until turn 4 because I didn't give him any openings. I kept the Glotkin bubble wrapped. I kept my Guo bubble wrapped on the side. What map are we playing on? I'll find it later. I'll mention it when I go through that maps video. But it was a good game. He made the right decisions. If he put these down any earlier than he did, I would have killed them for free. And he knew that. So he kept them in the sky, which was the right play. But he didn't have enough on the field to force me to open up and put things down. It was a rough game. It was a fun game. I did end up winning. But, yeah, just don't give them openings. Make them play the way you want to. Nurgle is not an army that can go head-to-head with somebody and usually win. We used to be, but we've lost our passive healing. We're less durable. And honestly, a lot of things' damages went up, which they were supposed to go down, but they didn't, which hurt us. But we still have a lot of play. Our disease mechanic is really, really good. If you manage it well. You do need to manage it. Maybe I'll do a video on managing disease. But that'll be another video. And I want to thank everybody for watching again. If you have any ideas, any lists you want me to review, any battle plans you want me to go over more specifically, any matchups you want to go over specifically, I will. I think we're gonna start doing a little bit more for this particular list of just talking about Nurgle, talking about ideas, talking about plans, reviewing stuff. So, thank you everybody. Have a wonderful day.